Let me ask you a question. Are you the same person you were a year ago? How about a day ago? Or even a second ago? It seems like a simple question, right? But believe it or not, this exact question is at the heart of one of philosophy's greatest and oldest paradoxes. And to really get it, we need to talk about a legendary ship.
And here it is, the core of the mystery. Imagine an ancient Greek ship. It's being preserved for centuries. As its wooden planks start to rot, they get replaced with new ones, until eventually not a single original piece is left. So, is it the same ship? Now, your first instinct is probably to just say yes or no, but stick with me here, because unpacking that simple answer, well, it reveals something incredibly profound about what identity even is.
You know, long before our ship came along, the philosopher Heraclitus was already wrestling with this exact problem. He saw the whole universe as being in a state of constant change, constant flux. For him, everything flows and nothing stays the same. And that idea that change is the only constant, that's the perfect place for us to start our journey.
So, the story begins with the hero Theseus. Legend says he sailed to Crete, slayed the Minotaur, you know the deal. His ship, with its 30 oars, was brought back to Athens and kept as a kind of sacred memorial. And to honor him, the Athenians took meticulous care of it. As each old oak plank started to decay, they'd just swap it out for a new one.
It was the historian Plutarch who first turned this into a full-blown puzzle. He looked at this very practical act of maintenance by the Athenians and realized it created this deep philosophical crisis. I mean, if all the original stuff is gone, what exactly are we preserving? Is it the name, the shape, the idea? One simple act of repair had kicked off a question that would puzzle people for thousands of years.
For centuries, you had philosophers arguing about this. Some said, yes, of course, it's the same ship. Its form and its purpose are still there. Others said, no way. The original matter is gone. It's a new ship. And then, things got a lot more complicated.
Fast forward to the 17th century. An English philosopher named Thomas Hobbes comes along, looks at this thought experiment, and basically decides to turn the difficulty level up to 11. He wasn't happy with the simple yes or no debate. He wanted to break the puzzle wide open.
So here is Hobbes' brilliant, game-breaking twist. He asked, what if someone had been collecting all the old, discarded planks? And what if, once that very last original plank was removed from the first ship, they took all those old pieces and reassembled them into a second ship? All of a sudden, we don't have one ship of Theseus, we have two.
And this is the impossible choice. Which one has the better claim? The ship in the harbor continues the original's form, its function, its history. But the reassembled ship, well, it's made of the actual original stuff. You can't say they're both the real ship because they're in two different places at the same time. This really forces the question, what truly defines identity? Is it the pattern or is it the parts?
To try and solve this, we can actually pull out a toolkit from another ancient philosopher, Aristotle. He believed that to really understand something, you had to ask 4 key questions about it, what he called the 4 causes. So if you prioritize the formal cause, the blueprint, the design, then the renovated ship in the harbor wins. But if you prioritize the material cause, the actual oak planks, the reassembled ship wins. See? The answer completely depends on which cause you think is most important for defining what a thing is.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about a boat, but the real reason this puzzle has stuck around for so long isn't about wood and nails. It's because the Ship of Theseus isn't just an object, it's a mirror.
Think about this for a second. It's estimated that up to 98% of the atoms in your body are replaced every single year. The cells in your skin, your bones, even in your brain, they're constantly being swapped out. You are a biological Ship of Theseus, constantly being rebuilt. If your identity is tied to your physical matter, then you aren't even the same person who started watching this explainer.
This is where the philosopher John Locke came in with a revolutionary solution. He argued that, hey, personal identity isn't about the stuff you're made of, it's about your consciousness. You're the same person you were yesterday because you have a continuous chain of memories that connects you to that past self. Your identity isn't in your body, it's in your mind.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. This shift from focusing on a physical body to focusing on a psychological connection has huge real-world consequences, especially when it comes to things like law and justice.
In fact, Locke specifically called the concept of a person a forensic term. What he meant is, it's a concept we use for legal and moral accountability. The whole reason we can hold someone responsible for a crime they committed years ago is that we believe they are the same person, connected by memory. Our entire legal system is built on this very Lockean idea.
So if identity is really just about psychological continuity, does that mean we can survive anything as long as our memories and personality stay intact? Well, the 20th century philosopher Derek Parfit created a modern version of our paradox to test that exact idea. Okay, imagine a machine. It scans your entire body, recording the exact state of every single atom. Then, it vaporizes you on Earth. Instantly, using that scan, it reconstructs a perfect copy of you on Mars using brand new atoms. This person on Mars has all your memories, your hopes, your fears. They feel exactly like you.
And that leads us to the terrifying question, is that person on Mars you? According to Locke's memory-based theory, the answer should be yes. You have perfect psychological continuity. But for a lot of us, it feels more like you died on Earth and a clone just woke up on Mars. Parfit used this to argue that maybe our obsession with a single, unique identity is the real problem here.
And this is not just science fiction. These exact questions are being debated right now by scientists and ethicists who are working on technologies like mind uploading. We're being forced to decide which Ship of Theseus we want our future selves to actually be.
The two main theories for how you could upload a mind perfectly mirror our two ships. One way is gradual replacement. You could slowly replace each neuron in your brain with a synthetic one that does the exact same job. This is just like the Athenian ship slowly being renovated. Most of us feel like we'd probably survive that. The other way is the scan and copy method. This is like Hobbes's reassembled ship. And for a lot of people, that feels like it just creates a copy, and the original you dies.
Or maybe there's a third way out of this whole maze. Buddhist philosophy offers a really radical solution called anatta, or no self. It basically suggests the paradox is a trap we built for ourselves. We assume there's a permanent fixed self to begin with, but maybe there isn't. You aren't an object like a ship. You're a process, like a river. There's no fixed self to preserve, only a continuous flow of change.
So, we've got these four major ways of looking at identity. For Aristotle, what matters most is the form and purpose. For Locke, it's all about that continuous thread of memory and consciousness. For Parfit, what really matters is that your psychological life continues, even if the idea of a single you is less important than we think. And for Buddhism, the whole question is based on a flawed idea. The self is an illusion.
So what's the ultimate takeaway here? Well, perhaps identity isn't a hard physical fact of the universe, but a story we tell ourselves. The Ship of Theseus stays the same ship because its story, its history, its purpose, its name, it all continues. And you remain you, not because your atoms are the same, but because the narrative of your life, woven from memory and experience, continues day by day. I'll leave you with a final thought experiment that brings Hobbes's twist right into our modern world. Imagine the teleporter scans and copies you to Mars, but this time the machine on Earth malfunctions and doesn't destroy your original body. Now there are two of you, both with a perfect claim to being the real you. Who gets your job, your family, your life? And maybe more importantly, who gets to make that decision? Thank you so much for spending your time learning with us today. If you found this insightful, please like, comment with what surprised you most, and subscribe to Info Now for more deep dives into our world's history.